Hi guys, so today's lesson is aimed at National 5 Practical Cookery, and it's a practical lesson. We're going to be doing macaroni cheese. The reason we're doing macaroni cheese today is we're going to be covering some of the things that we've already covered before, like simmering and boiling, but the main focus for you today is some of the processes like making a thickening agent, why we use certain ingredients. Okay, so let's get started. Alright guys, so the equipment that you're going to need today is your measuring jug. I've got a few bowls that I've collected all of my other ingredients here, but in terms of the skills that you're using, you're going to need a vegetable knife. I've used that to chop my garnish at the end. A small pot for your pasta, and I've half filled that with water. A medium pot for your sauce. A colander for draining your pasta, and then I've got a balloon whisk there for combining your sauce ingredients, your wooden spoon and your pot stand, and your serving bowl. Alright, for the ingredients, what we're going to need for the basics is I've got 25 grams of butter or margarine, 25 grams of plain flour, 75 grams of grated cheese. I've already grated this. Obviously if you have to grate yours, you're going to need a grater as well. 250 mils of milk and 100 grams of the dried pasta. Okay, and as I've said, I've got my seasoning, my pepper and my flaked sea salt there, and chives for my garnish. Alright guys, so first thing I've done is I've put my water on to boil. We've already talked about safety with that. Remember, pot handles out to the side, and I've put it on a high heat and I'm going to wait for that to come to the boil. As that's coming up to the boil, I'm going to get on with preparing my roux. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do for that is pop my medium-sized saucepan onto the hob, and in here I'm going to melt my butter and add in my flour and mix that around until it's all combined. Okay, so we'll put this on at a low heat. This butter is going to melt and the flour is going to combine with it, and it will need to cook off the flour just for a minute or so. So we're waiting for this to come up to a paste, and this is what we call the roux. Again, you can see my pot handles are out to the side. Okay, now I don't want to burn this, so I'm turning the temperature down slightly, but you can see now that the butter's melted, the flour is all incorporated into that, and it's just going to cook off for a minute. We don't want it to taste too starchy with the flour. Okay, so now once that's done, I'm going to remove it from the heat, turn the heat right down, and I'm going to gradually add in the milk. The reason I don't add it all in at once is I want to try and prevent lumps from forming in this. So just a small amount, stir it in so it's all fully combined, add in gradually a little bit more until you've got the full amount of the milk into your mixture. Then I'll add about a quarter of the milk, and I'm going to return that back to the heat and stir this in. At this point you're probably better using your balloon whisk. That tends to get all the lumps out a little bit easier. Okay, I'll put my spoon down on my paper towel there just to keep my station nice and tidy. Okay, so you can see that starting to incorporate the roux into the milk mixture, and the milk is thickening up. Okay, so again removed from the heat, and I can now add in the remainder of my milk. So this is your basics in forming a white sauce mixture. You could use this if you were making a lasagna and you needed a white sauce. You might not add as much cheese, or maybe a different type of cheese. You could add in any other salts or seasonings. With your macaroni cheese as well, like I said, this is the building blocks of it, so you can be a bit more creative with this if you wanted. You could add in other spices, other herbs, maybe even some mustard if you wanted a wee bit heat from it. Any other vegetables that you wanted to go with, that you thought might go with this. The other day I had some smoked arbroath smokies in the fridge, so I flaked that up and that went into this as well. Right, I'm just going to let this thicken, giving it a wee stir every now and again. And my water is starting to come up to temperature there just now too. So while that's heating up, I'm going to remove my water pot onto the pot stand and carefully add in, remember always pour away from you as well, add in my pasta and turn that back to the heat. Again, we're looking for this to be al dente. For some of those terms that you're not too sure on, guys, refer back to the previous videos. I think we talked about pasta being ready and al dente in the savoury pasta dish. We talked a lot about safety with that as well. Alright guys, so that's my white sauce come up to the right consistency now. It's thickened up nicely, nice and velvety, and I don't have any lumps there at all. That's because we used the balloon whisk and we added our milk in gradually. So I'm going to take that off the heat now, turn the heat off. I'm finished with this round. And at this point I'm going to season my white sauce. So salt and pepper can go in. Remember to season your water for your pasta as well. Again, we discussed that in the previous video. So I'm going to add in my cheddar cheese now. Mine's already been grated, and as I said, I've gone for cheddar, but there are a few different varieties. If you wanted to be a bit more experimental with different types of cheeses, you might want to add in a parmesan for more flavour. Gruyere is a lot more stringier if you wanted to add in that. So be a bit more experimental, and also you could add in things like I said, mustard or any other seasoning just to enhance the flavour. Okay, so cheese goes in, and I don't need to return this to the heat now, but I'm just going to combine this, and the heat from the sauce will melt the cheese. Okay, so that's my cheese sauce now ready. I'm just going to wait for my pasta to soften up, and then I'm going to drain that using the colander, and then add in my pasta into my cheese sauce. Okay, so that's my pasta now ready. I've just tested it and it's soft but still with a little bit of bite, meaning it's al dente. So I'm now going to pour that into the colander and drain out all the water. Right, so that's the pasta now being drained, it's sitting in the colander. I'm going to pour this into my cheese sauce and mix this round. So what you'll see, guys, from this video is that macaroni cheese actually is not the healthiest of dishes. We've got fats that come in the form of the cheese and the butter. Those are the saturated fats, the ones that are not good for us. And we've got carbohydrates there as well. We've got pasta, we've got flour. There are ways that you could make this dish healthier. Okay, and again, for SQA purposes, you might need to know that in your exam. So, for example, the white pasta, you could alternate that. You could swap it for something like a brown pasta, wholemeal pasta, that is going to have a higher fibre content and be better for you. As I said about adding in any other vegetables, you could add in garlic, you could add in peas or sweet corn or any other vegetable that you think would go better, or cheese alternative. Right, so now that's all combined, I'm going to pour this into my serving dish. And again, with all practical cookery dishes, you need to consider your garnish and your service. So, warm bowl for my warm dish, for my warm meal. Make sure there's no spillages around the outside of your bowl. And then I've chopped my chives up beforehand, and I'm going to just sprinkle them neatly in the centre, and that just adds a little bit of colour to the dish there. Right guys, so that's your completed dish. Let's see how you get on at home yourselves. Right, remember and like and subscribe and leave any feedback. Thanks guys, bye.